Hello and welcome to another episode of Superhero Club, your go-to show all about comic book inspired original series on Prime Video. I'm your host, Stephanie Williams. Before we get too far in, if you want more superhero content like this, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the Prime Video channel. What makes a hero? Is it their extraordinary abilities or the choices they make with them? Mark Grayson's origin story begins as a seemingly ordinary son of the world's greatest superhero, Omni-Man. Growing up in the shadow of such greatness, Mark spends his early teenage years as a typical high schooler, dealing with bullies, crushing on girls, and working a part-time job at a local fast food restaurant.
I think Amber's been pretty clear about how she feels, Todd.
What? Are you serious, Grayson?
Leave him alone!
What are you looking at?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Unlike some superhero journeys, Mark wasn't born with his powers. He had to wait for them to manifest, anticipating that one day he would inherit his father's Viltrumite abilities. Everything changes when Mark's powers finally emerge while taking out the trash at work. His father, Nolan, immediately begins training him, showing him how to harness his newfound abilities. Their first training session ends roughly, which was probably a sign of things to come. Nolan and Mark did have a better father-son bonding experience when Nolan took Mark to get his first superhero suit, which was made by the legendary tailor, Art Rosenbaum.
Am I getting a costume? Do you make Dad's costumes?
He's a quick one, this kid.
Can't have you running around in your pajamas all the time.
Oh, man! Awesome! Wait, you already have one made for me? Is it a surprise?
Usually we start with a conversation and I make something custom, but I do have one that might work. What do you think?
Well, I don't know about the orange and yellow. It's pretty loud.
While Nolan pushes Mark to be like him, his mother, Debbie, gives him perhaps the most critical advice he could hear, that he doesn't need to be the great Omni-Man, he only needs to be the best Mark. Mark's early days as Invincible are defined by optimism and excitement. His first major heroic act comes when he helps defend Earth against alien invaders known as the Flaxons. This encounter also introduces him to the teen team, where he meets Adam Eve, a classmate from his high school with remarkable matter manipulation powers. This chance meeting begins one of the most significant relationships in Mark's life, though neither of them realizes it at the time. Mark's world expands further when he encounters Alan the alien, who is testing Earth's defenses for the coalition of planets. What begins as a misunderstanding will later become an important alliance for Mark.
Are you using your timeout?
I get a timeout? Why did I get a timeout?
Hey, I didn't invent the rules.
What rules? I don't even know who you are.
Oh, you don't?
Mark struggles to balance his responsibilities like any teenager, but since Mark isn't your ordinary teenager, he's busy juggling his superhero duties with his personal life. His budding relationship with classmate Amber Bennett often takes a back seat to his superhero duties, creating a pattern of broken promises and mistakes that continue challenging their relationship. During these early struggles, Adam Eve becomes a superhero ally and friend who understands Mark's unique challenges, offering him someone to confide in about his double life. Mark's moral compass is tested early in his superhero journey when he agrees to help Titan remove crime boss Machine Head against his father's advice. This decision showcases a fundamental difference between Mark and his father. While Omni-Man sees the world in black and white, Mark recognizes the shades of gray and wants to help those seeking redemption.
You're right. You're so strong and tough. And you fly all over the goddamn place. It's amazing.
Thanks. You know a lot about me.
I also knew exactly when you and this giant pile of would walk in here and ruin my doors. Also, Italian maple, by the way.
No way you saw this coming.
Oh, is that what you think? See, this is what happens when your head's a rock.
You said you took care of him.
I know what I said.
Mark's heroism comes with consequences despite his good intentions. His decision to help his friend William find his missing boyfriend leads to a confrontation with the twisted scientist D.A. Sinclair and his cyborg. Though Mark succeeds in saving the day, the incident forces him to reveal his identity to William and further strains his relationship with Amber. Everything Mark thought he knew is shattered when his father reveals his true mission on Earth. Omni-Man isn't a hero. Instead, he is an advanced scout for the Viltrumite Empire sent to weaken Earth for conquest. When Mark refuses to join his father's cause, the two engage in a devastating battle that leaves Chicago in ruins and Mark barely clinging to life. In the end, Mark's humanity proves stronger than his father's conditioning. Nolan can't bring himself to kill his son and abandons Earth, leaving Mark to pick up the pieces. This abandonment forces Mark to reevaluate everything he thought he knew about being a superhero, family, and his own identity. During this traumatic period, Eve, William, and Amber form a support system for Mark, with Eve in particular understanding his superhero burden. With his father gone, Mark finds himself suddenly bearing the weight of an intergalactic legacy. Alan the alien reveals that the Viltrumite Empire will eventually come to Earth, and that Mark might be humanity's greatest hope for resistance.
A power struggle's brewing in the farthest reaches of space.
What kind of power struggle?
The Coalition is trying to unite enough worlds to stop the Viltrumite Empire. The thing is, no one's even heard of a Viltrumite abandoning their post. It's insane. It just doesn't happen. This could be the advantage we've been looking for.
Sure. Let me know if I can do anything to help.
I don't get why you're smiling.
Just thinking about everything I've been through, how huge it all feels. But the fact it's just a small part of something much larger makes it all seem more manageable. I don't know, but it helps.
Sorry to rain on your parade. That happens on Earth, right? Anyway, once they find out your father took off, the Viltrumites are gonna come for you. Trust me, when they set their sights on a planet, they don't give up without a fight.
I'll be ready.
In the aftermath of his father's betrayal, Mark throws himself into relief efforts trying to repair the damage caused by the battle. The responsibility for the destruction weighs heavy on him, pushing him to confront difficult questions about the true impact of being a superhero. He wants to prove himself to be the hero his father isn't. However, his commitment to proving he isn't his father will continue to impact Mark's ability to balance the responsibilities of his double life. Mark misses considerable time away from school when he ventures to a distant planet after his father sends for him. At the time, Mark just thinks he's helping the Thraxan who sought him out to save the planet of Thraxa. But Mark experiences the shock of his life when the planet also happens to be the one his father is now living on, and not only that, he discovers he's gone so far as to start a new family. As you can imagine, the unexpected meeting floods Mark with complicated feelings. Luckily for Nolan, his son's humanity and love for his father wins out, and Mark agrees to stay and help Nolan defend Thraxa against the Viltrum warriors seeking to kill Mark's half-brother. The fight on Thraxa is a game changer for Mark. He faces off with Viltrum warriors who don't hold back. It also shows that Mark himself has been holding back his true power, a revelation that impacts how he later begins training after the Viltrum General Krieg tasked him with carrying out his father's duties on Earth, something Mark is fully against.
I know this may not appeal to you, given your sympathies. So I'll put it like this. You can kill a few humans to convince them to capitulate, or we will kill millions if we arrive to find you or your planet still defiant against us. We will check on your progress soon. And unlike your father, we do not change our minds.
Mark then returns to Earth with his half-brother Oliver, the son his father had with an alien woman named Andressa. Balancing college, superhero duties, and family responsibilities became increasingly challenging, especially as his relationship with Amber continued to suffer from his frequent absences. Throughout this period, Eve remains constant in Mark's life, helping with relief efforts and providing emotional support and superhero assistance when needed. When Alan the alien returns with the invitation to join the fight against the Viltrumite Empire, Mark decides to stay on Earth, recognizing his responsibilities to his family and protecting his home planet. This choice reflected his growing maturity and understanding of the sacrifices being a superhero demands. The true danger of Mark's Viltrumite heritage becomes increasingly clear when Anissa, another Viltrumite, arrives on Earth to persuade him to accept his Viltrum duty. Like the fight on Thraxa, their confrontation demonstrates the physical threats Mark will face and the ideological battle between Viltrumite conquest and Mark's commitment to protect humanity. Mark's resilience is tested to the limits when Angstrom Levy attacks his family, blaming Mark for his disfigurement. Enraged by the threat to his mother and brother, Mark pursues Angstrom across dimensions, eventually beating him to death in a moment of uncontrollable fury. The violence of this encounter leaves Mark deeply traumatized and forces him to confront the darkness within himself and the frightening parallels to his father's capacity for violence. This reckoning leads to his decision to quit college and focus on mastering his powers and emotions. He and Amber also mutually agreed to end the relationship. During this vulnerable period, Mark finds himself drawn to Eve, whose steady presence and understanding offer comfort that few others can provide. He visits Eve, finding solace in her presence. Although he seems to be on the verge of confessing his true feelings, he remains silent, finding comfort in simply sitting with her. This moment marks a turning point in the relationship as the friendship that had sustained them through countless battles begins to evolve into something deeper. Following all of the traumatic events that Mark has experienced, he dedicates himself to becoming stronger and undergoes intensive training with Cecil. His power, speed, and endurance increase dramatically, but so does his inner turmoil about the kind of hero and person he wants to be. Mark's relationship with Cecil is strained after Mark questions Cecil's decision to work with D.A. Sinclair and Darkwing 2. Not only is Mark not in moral alignment with Cecil, but he also gets a personal experience of who Cecil Stedman is at the end of the day. A man who wants to keep the world safe at any cost, even if that means placing a device in Mark's head to weaken him if the need arises. This betrayal of trust leads to a violent confrontation that echoes his father's actions, forcing Mark to recognize the thin line between protection and tyranny. As Mark embraces a new persona symbolized by his latest black and blue costume, he also assumes the responsibility of mentoring his rapidly aging half-brother Oliver. The challenges of this mentor role reveal just how different the brothers' moral compasses are. While Mark values human life, Oliver has inherited their father's Viltrumite perspective on humanity's disposability.
I didn't mean to kill them. I saved you guys.
They're just stunned, Oliver. Even superheroes aren't used to seeing kids do something like this. But I know you were just trying to help.
I told you to stay away from my family.
I'm just here to clean up your brother's mess.
Wait.
It looks like you've been trying to hammer the family business.
Meanwhile, while Mark's relationship with Cecil erodes, his relationship with Eve grows closer and their connection deepens. Eve encourages Mark to consider starting a business together, symbolizing their growing partnership in and out of costume. They start Invincible Inc., a company that essentially has a hero-for-hire setup. The true cost of Mark's heroism becomes painfully clear when he encounters Powerplex, a man who lost his family in a battle between Mark and Omni-Man. This confrontation forces Mark to acknowledge the collateral damage of superhero conflicts and the grief of those left behind. One of Mark's more challenging trials comes when Angstrom Levy returns with an army of evil variants of Mark from across different dimensions. These alternate versions of himself who embrace power without responsibility, show Mark a chilling vision of what he could become without his moral compass. In what became known as the Invincible War, these variants devastated cities across the globe, causing casualties in the hundreds of thousands and defeating many of Earth's heroes. Mark was forced to confront physical enemies and the terrifying potential of his power when wielded without his humanity. The conflict left deep psychological scars as Mark realized how close he might be to becoming the very thing he fights against if he ever lost his way. Despite the destruction these variants cause, when Mark finally confronts Angstrom Levy, he hesitates to kill him. It's not till Oliver shows up begging his brother to kill Angstrom that Mark almost goes through with it. However, Angstrom manages to escape, leaving Mark to confront the destruction caused without any retribution. When Mark visits Eve in the hospital, he regrets not killing Angstrom when he had the chance, since Angstrom could come back and cause even more damage. But the lessons don't stop there for Mark. Before he can even recover from the Invincible War, he faces Conquest, a bloodthirsty Viltrumite who pushes him to his limit. When Conquest severely injures both Oliver and Eve, Mark unleashes his fury, finally defeating the seemingly unstoppable warrior through sheer determination and rage and some help from Eve. The near loss of Eve, who has become the emotional anchor in his chaotic life, revealed just how deeply he has come to care for her.
I love you.
I love you too.
I thought you were...
Mark? Mark? Hey. Am I naked?
Mark Grayson's journey from naive teenager to battle-hardened hero has been defined by loss, betrayal, and the constant struggle between his human upbringing and his Viltrumite heritage. Despite the darkness he faced, Mark continues to fight for a better world, proving that true heroism isn't about having extraordinary powers. It's about making the right choices even when they're the hardest ones, and finding the people who help bring out the best in you along the way. Thank you for watching Superhero Club and this installment of Character Diaries. I've been your host, Stephanie Williams. You can now watch all 3 seasons of Invincible on Prime Video.